I don't know about you, but I have a little bit of extra fat to melt away. Talking about beef fat is, I'm gonna be turning it into tallow. What is beef tallow? Well, it is beef fat that you have rendered down and turned it into a cooking oil or into a cosmetic product or into soap. How do you do that? It's actually one of the easiest things ever. All you need to do is get some beef fat. Now, you can either buy beef fat if you have a local butcher around you. A lot of times they're just discarding it anyway because they end up with too much. So maybe if you have a good in with a butcher, you can go straight to them and ask them at the end of the day, if you have extra beef fat that you're just gonna be throwing away, why don't you give it to me? Then you can take it home and you can turn it into beef tallow. What do you do with the beef fat? All you have to do is cut it into smaller chunks. When you have it in your tray, you can either put that in your oven or you can put it in your smoker, depending on what you're gonna be doing with the tallow at the end. So I'll go through the steps of all you need to do if you're looking for a beef tallow for cooking or if you're looking for a beef tallow for soap. There's a lot of negative connotations to beef fat or animal fat, but that is years, decades of propaganda that have been fed to you, people that have been making vegetable oils and seed oils. That stuff is actually terrible for you. And beef fat, or animal fat for that matter, actually better for you, healthier in the long run, and it's way more flavorful, and it's gonna give your food an extra notch above anybody else's food. All right, so we're gonna start off by cutting and cubing up our beef tallow. We're gonna put it in this tray, and today I'm gonna be doing a simple beef tallow. Normally I put it in the smoker, but today I'm opting for an easier version. Today I'm gonna make a more pure one so that I can use it for various things like frying potatoes in, cooking eggs in. So where did I get my beef fat? Well, last year I bought half of a cow, so I told them I want all the meat, all of the bones, and I want all of the beef fat because I'm gonna be turning that into bone stock for the bones, and I'm gonna be turning it into tallow for the beef fat. So, fairly simple. You just take the beef fat, cube it up. Now this still has some meat on it, but that's all right. Cube everything up, throw it in there. Could you buy beef tallow? Yeah, you could. It tends to be pretty expensive. And for the amount of effort that I'm about to put in to making this, for the amount of cost that goes into it, it is way better for you to actually just do this at home. You get to be a little bit more sustainable. You get to be a little bit closer to nature because you're butchering up an animal and you get to know your food a little bit better, which is really good if you ask me. You can replace all your seed oils because that stuff is absolutely garbage for you. If you think I'm wrong on that, you haven't read the research on how absolutely terrible seed and vegetable oils are for you compared to actual animal fat, things that we have been digesting for hundreds of thousands of years compared to processed seed oils.
Later.
To the oven for 12 hours. I added 4 cups of water, 4 tablespoons of salt, and we'll be checking on this periodically, making sure that nothing is burning at 300 degrees.
12 sleepless hours later.
Now, the next step is we're gonna pour it off into this bowl. Hopefully it all fits in here. And we're gonna put it through this sieve. I have liners on because this is hotter than hell. Here we go. Why don't you check out my video right here on what you can do with some of this tallow, like make some gumbo, fry some chicken wings, whatever it may be. World's your oyster. Replace any oil right here. Fry some steaks in it. So good. All right, for the people that are gonna take this and purify it even further. Now, at this point, we're gonna let this cool overnight in the fridge. And what's gonna happen is this is going to solidify into one big cake. Then, if there's any impurities, or if there's any water that was still left over in this, even though we cooked it for about 12 hours at 300 degrees, there might be some impurities in here, in the bottom of this by tomorrow when it all separates. I'll show you what to do tomorrow.
The next day.
All right, so it's been 24 hours. This has solidified completely. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take this bowl, flip it over. We're gonna see if anything settled to the bottom. If so, we're gonna scrape that off, and then we're gonna proceed to part number 2. There it goes. There's not much sediment to speak of. So what we're gonna do is take this cake, We're gonna add a little bit of water to it. We're gonna melt it back down, and we're gonna do this purifying again. Hey, look at that. I have a little bit of salt water here. I got about 2 cups, and I put about a tablespoon of salt in there. That's all I'm gonna do. Just pour it on there. We're gonna let that water boil off, and then we're gonna re-solidify this again. And by that time, you should have had a lot of the impurities or the smell come off because of the salt water is gonna be pulling that off. And after that, you can move on to either doing this a 3rd time or stopping right there. I'll see you guys after all the water is boiled off.
The next day.
All right, so it is now solidified overnight once more. And now I'm gonna take it, flip it over, see if there's any impurities on the bottom, and then we'll move on to bottling. This is a fairly simple process. All we're gonna do is take our knife and we're gonna scrape and remove all of this impurities and nonsense right off the bottom, leaving us with a pure tallow. We're gonna just gently melt this down one more time. We don't want it super hot, we just want it to be a liquid again. So I'm gonna put it very low, keep it at a very low temperature, because then I'm gonna jar it in some mason jars. Just drop this thing right in here. We're going to put this on medium low, low. All right, start. Oxidizing isn't really a concern, especially at a very low temperature like this. All I'm gonna be doing is just liquefying this and then jarring it. You can store it for weeks as is on your counter, or you can store it for months and months, up to a year in your refrigerator. All right, so here we are at the last step. I have it warmed up, got my mason jar, and it's fairly simple. All right, so if you have a funnel, or if you have a wide mouth mason jar, I would suggest using that. Just a little bit at a time. Try not to get anything from the bottom, because we're still trying to keep that separated, and fill up your mason jar. It's really that simple. Now, as you see here, it's a little cloudy. That's because I didn't really heat this up to the point where this is hot. This is just enough to get it into a liquid form. If this were hot, it would be clear all the way through. There you go. Like I said, I got about 2 or 3 mason jars worth here, and that's it. Don't tighten it down all the way. And then that's ready for storage. Or you can put this in your pantry, your counter, and your cabinet, and it'll keep for a while, few weeks, month, whatever. If you keep this in your fridge, it'll keep for months and months, up to a year. So if you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below. Check out my merch store right there. Everything's always in the description down below, any of the equipment I use, and this isn't really a recipe, but I'll give you a breakdown in the description down below. And remember to follow me on all my social medias. Yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.